Well, the Boston Celtics, they come into a very different situation here in 25-26 season. No Jason Tatum. They've traded away a lot of assets, but there is still plenty of value across the board in Boston. Let's have a chat about it. G'day guys, welcome back to Ball Logic Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things fantasy basketball for the 25-26 season. We've got the Boston Celtics. I am Braino and I've got Horse with me, as always, mate. How are you going, first of all? Boston, very interesting team to look at this year, aren't they? They've embraced the tank somewhat.
Adam Silver's not going to like this, but they are going full tank mode. We'll talk about that a bit later on, but I'm just excited we get to talk NBA again, mate. Like, it's been a couple of months. You know, OKC won Game 7 against Indiana. That was all well and good. You go through this lull, and now it's back. We get to talk about it, so let's crack on.
I don't know whether Boston want to talk about it, to be honest.
I think no.
I think they're more than happy to fast forward to 2026-27. That's for sure. Maybe even the 2026 draft is something that'll be marked in the calendar for the Boston Celtics, I would assume. Acquired a lot of picks, obviously very, very openly trading away a lot of assets. They've moved on Kristaps Porzingis to the Atlanta Hawks. They got back Georges Niang, who now they've already punted. So, they're getting a lot of cash considerations, a lot of draft picks. They've got Drew Holiday. They've sent him back off to Portland and acquired Anthony Simons in that trade. So that's an interesting one. Luke Cornett hasn't been re-signed. It doesn't look like Al Horford is going to be re-signed either, which opens up a lot of minutes, I think, at the 4 and 5 this year. And they've acquired Josh Minnow, Luka Garza as well. So, look, honestly, there is a lot out and not much in, Horse. So, yeah. How'd they go last year, first of all?
They did all right last year, 61-21. Had one of the best records in the East. They inevitably fell to the New York Knicks after Tatum did that Achilles injury, which unfortunately is going to keep him out for the year. But the last couple of years, they've just been really, really good when we're talking basketball, when we're talking basketball wins, but also fantasy-wise. Last year alone, they had 5 players inside the top 100, Braino.
Well, look, I mean, you would expect that from a team that goes 61-21, wouldn't you? Like, naturally, there's going to be guys that are performing well in that team. And now, let's say, 3 of them are gone. So it's now a matter of going, all right, who's left over? And the obvious answers are Jaylen Brown and Derek White. And it's kind of now a matter of how early do we take them? And I guess that's probably the conversation we need to have to kick things off. But before we do, how do you see them going this year? Let's talk record-wise. Do you reckon they're going to be struggling to push 25 wins? What are you thinking?
I don't think they'll win 25 games, no.
I mean, that would put them at the bottom of the East. Like, in
I
comparison
think they're
to
going to
last...
really struggle.
Yeah, I don't know whether they're going to be as bad as 25, but I think around the 30 mark is probably realistic for them. The 30 wins was good enough for 11th last year, like the Toronto Raptors. So for me, I'm probably looking sub 30, between 25 and 30 wins for the Boston Celtics. I still think that they're going to be not terrible, but I think that they're definitely going to be much worse. So
if you're looking at a bloke like Jaylen Brown, who he's got no right hand, who's going to be like, his usage is going to be through the roof. You got Derek White, who I think, and we spoke about off air, that he's probably going to add a little bit this year, given his defensive stats that he brings to the table as well. But outside of that, I'm not so sure I'm loving what Boston have got to offer us in fantasy this year.
Look, there's a couple of guys that are very, very obvious to talk about. So let's get into the top guys. It's, like we said at the start of the show, it's Jaylen Brown, it's Derek White. I think these two guys, you could argue, could be top 3-round picks in your fantasy basketball draft. And obviously, naturally, we'll preface this by saying we're talking 9-category head-to-head formats at the moment, not points leagues, but we'll be covering points leagues a little bit later in the preseason.
For sure.
Now, I guess no Tatum means that there's a lot of minutes up for grabs at the 3 and the 4. Jaylen Brown, this is his team now, isn't it? Like, he's got to take that next step up. I think there's every chance he's playing anywhere between 36 to 38 minutes a game. I don't know whether there's a chance that they can even... I don't know whether they have the depth to not play him that much. What are your thoughts on Jaylen Brown and where you take him?
He's going to be playing New York Knicks kind of minutes this year. He has to. You look at their depth chart, for example, and you've got Anthony Simons, Derek White, Jaylen Brown. They're the household names, but at the 4 and the 5, you're really, really struggling to nail anyone of relevance. Sammy Hauser, he's more of a 3 streamer. Namus Ketter, maybe, with no Cornette, no Horford, no Porzingis. It's just a hot mess, Braino.
It is. It's not good. That's for sure. If I was a Boston fan, I'd probably just watch next year. But in saying that, I think as fantasy basketball fans, there's value, right? And we're talking about Jaylen Brown, who finished the season the 78th best player last year in 9 cats. So I think you could push top 40. Maybe more realistically, I'm looking at him around the 45 to 50 mark, I think. I think that's probably where I'd be happy to take him. And look, there's every chance someone's going to take him before me, and I'm completely okay with that. He's a guy that's probably not high on my pecking order in terms of must-haves around that late 3rd, early 4th round mark. 22 points per game last year. Obviously, Tatum had 26. He still played 34 minutes per game last year, but the usage was at 28.9 in comparison to 31.2 for Tatum. So I think, honestly, Brown's usage is going to come up into the early 30s, 32, I'd say. And I think there's probably another guy that maybe you might like even more in Derek White, who had a usage of 19.8 last year. And I think we're going to be looking at a 28, 29 type usage from him this year.
Yeah. If anyone on the Boston Celtics I'm into, it's Derek White. His threes, he's consistent, his defensive stuff that he does. Yeah, Brown, too hot and cold for me. And from the line, he struggles a bit as well.
Yeah, 764 from the line, 839 for Derek White. So definitely reliable, doesn't hurt you really in any category, to be completely honest. I think when you take Jaylen Brown, you're probably punting turnovers. You're probably at some point, you don't necessarily have to punt field goal percentage, but free throw, he hurts you a little bit there. He's not exactly the most efficient 3-point shooter either. And you mentioned at the start, it's the whole, can't go left type scenario. And I just think that when you've got so little amount of options on the court, if Jaylen Brown's usage is going up through the roof, it's going to be very easy to double him and force Boston to beat the opposition elsewhere. Luckily enough, they've got a few decent 3-point shooters around them that hopefully can do that job. But I think there's a bump in assists for Jaylen Brown and a bump in assists for Derek White. They both averaged 4.5 to 4.8 assists per game last year. So I think, Tatum's 6 assists are going to need to be leveled out somewhere. So I would say we'd naturally share maybe 2 to 2.5 of those each. So both could be 6 assist guys this year.
Anthony Simons is a high usage guy as well, isn't he?
He is. We probably should move on to those ready to rise players, shouldn't we? It is him. It is Anthony Simons. I think he's a guy now that is going to be streaming up boards very, very quickly. I don't know where you have him at the moment, Horse, but I'm probably looking at him inside the top 90 at the moment. My only concern with him, and I guess it's hard to put too much judgment on him because he has been known as a bit of a shot chucker. When he gets opportunities, he's not afraid to take it. He was the 97th best player last year, but shot the ball at a 426 clip, which is pretty poor. What are your thoughts on him? Because I think you're definitely getting value out of him. I don't see him being worse than the 97th best player, but I don't think he's got top 70 upside either.
No, just disclaimer, I've got him at 82 on my draft board. So I do see a little bit of improvement for him given that the usage is going to go up. But yeah, he's not someone that I'm targeting early. You're right. He is a shot chucker. He throws up shots that only the best players in the league should. And he's only a small guy as well. And I don't think Portland are going to miss him that much with Scoot coming in, and we'll get into Portland in a later episode. But yeah, I reckon Portland are pretty happy that they got what they got for him.
I mean, look, Anthony Simons, I guess if this puts it in perspective, Shaedon Sharp had a higher usage than Anthony Simons last year.
Wow.
24.6. Shaedon Sharp had the highest usage behind Bryce McGowan's. Obviously, this is average instead of per game. But for me, I'm looking at Anthony Simons and thinking, I reckon he's a nice little crack at one of those guys who could. He does have the potential to be a top 60, top 50 player when he gets it right over a certain stretch. Can he maintain that all year? No. But I think you're going to get the best out of him at different periods throughout this year. And look, if Boston commit to this tank, there's every chance they sit down Derek White, they shut down Jaylen Brown, and this could just be Anthony Simon's team where he just goes ham for the season. So,
do you reckon Cam Thomas type levels of chucking ability towards the rim for points? Are we talking that?
I don't know if anyone has that in them. To compare them to Cam Thomas, he is probably the president of shot chucking, behind Michael Porter Jr. at times when he's triple teamed. The man just loves chucking up a shot when he's got two men on him. But look, I'm probably looking at Anthony Simons as a guy that I think, if you need points at the back end, you're going to get probably 20 to 22 points a game out of him minimum, I think, on this team. Your usage is going to probably be a little bit better this year as well. I like the prospects of him, but I think it's points and threes for me from him. He doesn't provide anything else in any other stat, doesn't even average a steal a game. 4.8 assists last game on big usage. He might get maybe 4 assists per game, close to 20 points, and that's pretty much it. I don't think I'd be getting him for anything else. So he does provide limited upside across multiple categories, which probably decreases his value somewhat.
Yep.
All right, let's have a chat, mate, because he's the only guy really in the value section of this team. Let's have a chat about the guys that you can probably pick up late in your drafts. It's Sammy Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, and to be fair, I'm being a bit hard on Peyton Pritchard here because I think there's definitely plenty of upside in Peyton Pritchard. He could have technically fell into that top 100 kind of bracket. I think I've got him around the 100 mark at the moment on my draft board, but there is upside in Peyton Pritchard, and I might even like Peyton Pritchard better than I like Anthony Simons. Maybe that's a hot take, maybe it isn't, but maybe I'm a bit of a Peyton Pritchard guy, Horse. What do you think? What do you think about him?
I like him. He gave a lot to Boston coming off the bench last year, didn't he?
His role
28 minutes a game. Yeah, 28 minutes a game off the bench. Probably that's the best in the NBA. You'd have to fact check me on that, but 14 points a game on 3 threes a game, nearly a steal a game as well on not too bad percentages. Doesn't turn the ball over a lot either, only a turnover a game. Don't mind him.
Yeah, as the guy who ran the second unit for Boston, he did a really good job shooting 472 from the field as a guy who predominantly shoots threes, right? Like he's known as a three streamer for the most part, but I think he might be a little bit more than that this year. 3.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists per game. He's known to be that six-man firecracker, come out and score, light it up, score me 20, 22 in this game, win us a game. He might need to take on a bit more responsibility this year, which I kind of like because I think that benefits his counting stats a little bit. Sure. Specifically his assists, I think he might need to do a little bit more in that department this year if you've got Derek White and Jaylen Brown, the only two, genuine options on the court to facilitate at that time. I think they might need Pritchard's assist.
For sure. Yep.
What about we've got a couple. Sam Hauser, definitely a three streamer at best. I think maybe top. I don't know. You could probably pick him up in the last round of your draft, maybe around the 120, 140 mark.
I reckon you're grabbing him off waivers. I don't even think he gets drafted. You're just streaming him for threes and that's it.
I think there's a little bit of upside there, depending on, obviously, if anyone goes down with injury, there could be a pathway to some minutes there. He played 21.7 minutes off the bench last year. He got a start at different points in the season. But, yeah, for me, it's only threes upside, really, isn't it, out of Sam Hauser, unless he can kind of take his game to the next level, which I don't think he can. But he should start this year. I guess that's probably the positive for Hauser, is that it doesn't really look like there's anybody else that can or will start at power forward.
What about your man, the water boy, Chris Boucher?
Bobby Boucher, one of my favourites. One of those guys that you just love when he gets extended opportunity. I think maybe 1 or 2 times a year he'll just fall into 25 to 28 minutes a game and do something for you every time. He just has been in shit roles, and I feel like he's been at the graveyard in Toronto for a while now. So, he's got himself out of there. He's got himself an opportunity. It's out of him and Neemias Queta, I guess, that are probably going to share those 5 minutes. They've still got Xavier Tillman there as well. Fuck me, I've actually completely forgot about Xavier Tillman in this league. But shout out to Matrix, big Memphis guy.
Yeah, big Memphis guy. Yeah.
Look, I like Boucher more than I like Queta if that's any consolation. And would I draft him at the end of my draft in the 140 to 160 mark? Yeah, probably. I'd probably take a punt on someone like Chris Boucher because I think he's a really good PPM kind of guy. Like he's a guy that can find you plenty of counting stats, and he can shoot the three ball. He can stretch the court. Quater can't. So I think there's, an opportunity there to play him at the 5 and gives, I guess, a better lane for Jaylen Brown to attack the rim.
Yep.
Anybody else stand out for you, mate? Because it's a bit of a graveyard after this, isn't it?
Nah, not really. Nah, it's Boucher, and that's about it. For me, Boucher's upside is higher than that of Sammy Hauser. You get points, you get rebounds. Pretty good with his blocks as well. So you got 3 counting stats there. Doesn't really turn the ball over because he's not really creating that much. He's a catch and shooter. He's at the rim type of player. So, yeah, for me, the upside's there in Boucher.
Yep, rate it. I like him as a bit of a late round flyer for sure. He's a guy we'll be targeting in the final couple of rounds of your draft. Mate, how do we see these guys lining up 1 to 5 to start with in terms of rotation? Because it's pretty obvious. Unlike the Atlanta Hawks that we've talked about recently, it feels like, if 6 or 7 could fit into 5 there. I feel like you've got 3 that needs to fit into 5, and then you need to fill the rest somehow. So it's a very different situation. How do you see them lining up?
How I think they'll line up is Anthony Simons, Derek White, Jaylen Brown. I think Namus Ketter starts at the 5, and I think Chris Boucher starts at the 4. But you know what? I would really like Boston to get spicy, play Anthony Simons off the bench, and start Peyton Pritchard.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. No, for me, I think Peyton Pritchard needs to be in that 6-man role. He was so good last year. I don't see
he was awesome, wasn't he?
I feel like you decrease the value of Peyton Pritchard when you chuck him on the court at the start and he has to share the court with Derek White and Jaylen Brown and be the third guy. I just don't see any benefit to that. I feel like it's Derek White probably at the point guard. It'll be Anthony Simons at the 2. It'll be Jaylen Brown. And then I would say honestly, I like Sam Hauser as a starter. I think he stretches the floor. I think he provides that shooting. Derek White and Simons are good shooters, but I think if you had Hauser on the court as well as that third option that can hit the 3 ball, it opens up the court a lot for Jaylen Brown, who, let's be honest, isn't an amazing 3-point shooter. So, yeah, I think it's Brown at 3, Hauser at 4. And honestly, I would love them to start Chris Boucher at 5, but I don't think they will. I think it's going to be Quated at 5 as that inside big kind of guy to set those screens. So that's probably how I see it playing out, mate. Peyton Pritchard, the 6th man. And then, honestly, fall off a cliff for everybody else.
Who knows how this is going to go? Xavier Tillman.
Early shutdown risk we haven't talked about because we're trying to keep these pods under 20 minutes so they're consumable. We'll dive into a lot more of this stuff when we get into positional deep dives, but the shutdown risk is massive. That's probably the one thing that's deterring me from taking Jaylen Brown too early is that there's every chance that they shut him and Derek White down after the All-Star break.
This could very well turn into a G League team after the All-Star break. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels a little bit like the Golden State Warriors back in, was it 22 or 23? When Steph ended up being out at the back end of the year. Clay was out the full year with his Achilles, and I think Draymond Green missed at least 50% of that season as well, and they ended up getting the 3rd pick in the draft, and they picked James Wiseman, which was an all-time fumble. Second pick with the draft, even worse. That's right, because LaMelo went 3rd in that draft, didn't he? Mm-hmm. So, picking James Wiseman in that draft, I think they were obviously hoping for something a little bit better than that. So, funny how things work out, isn't it? I think that they're looking for a very similar season where they're just going to shut these guys down early, get a good draft pick, and then Tatum comes in ready to go next year and they build around him again.
For sure.
Guys, that'll do us for Boston. A little bit to like, but not too much. So, we'll keep coming with you with those team previews over the next 6 weeks, guys. Keep an eye out for them. We've got the full team on deck as well. So there's 5 or 6 of us that are going to be jumping on and giving you a different perspective each episode as to what we think about these different picks in fantasy basketball. We'll also be releasing our draft boards very soon as well, so keep an eye out for those in the Patreon. We'll give you a chat about those when they come out. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll catch you then.